We have several important news stories about Tesla and its competitors today. So first, after a week of fear and misinformation after the Financial Times reported that Tesla had shady accounting with $1.4 billion missing, the news outlet has come out with an apology. Of course, us Tesla bulls knew all along this was all bullcrap and made up. Elon Musk himself reacted to this. Second, should Tesla investors worry that buyers are being turned off Tesla's brand? Canaccord's recent survey showed that while politics mattered, the number of people turned off might be smaller than feared. Third, in a shocking disclosure, it turns out Chinese automaker BYD received 26% of its total 2024 net income from subsidies from the Chinese government, 26%. Finally, we have news from India that they're willing to reduce tariffs on 55% of US imports to as little as zero from a current range of 5 to 30%. This comes as rumors are saying Tesla's partnering with local Indian auto supplier Tata Group. Let's find out what this all means. And to help us figure this all out, one of my favorite friends and best retail analysts out there is Brian White of FutureAza. Welcome, Brian.
Hey, it's great to be here. The BYD news is pretty interesting, but the Financial Times news is the only part of it that wasn't predictable was the fact that they actually apologized. So we will get into that, but there's a lot there. The biggest thing I saw on X, a gentleman said, isn't it a shame that these kinds of publications used to be all about prestige and accuracy, and now they're all about an agenda? And I said, no, they've always been about readership, but it used to be that integrity would get you readership, and now sensationalism is what gets you clicks.
So first of all, really appreciate you because when this news came out, you jumped on it right away. A couple others with experience jumped on it right away and said, no, this is not real. It takes a lot of guts for somebody to step up and say, Financial Times, they came out and said this, there must be some truth to it. For you to step up and say, no, that doesn't make sense, accounting rules. Anyways, this was a big deal. My own wife sent me a message right after this came out and says, is this true? Is Tesla missing and falsifying $1.4 billion missing? And I was able to take, your post and other people's posts and forward it to her and says, we don't think it's real. So here's the Financial Times retracting what they said. So the Financial Times has issued an apology after suggesting that Tesla had shady accounting with $1.4 billion missing. In reality, the Financial Times just didn't understand the accounting, and an expert reached out to them to explain it to them. The Financial Times says one unavoidable conclusion is that at a certain point, it's necessary to trust the auditor's judgment. What kind of statement is that? It's like, as much as we don't want to trust the auditor, I guess we should trust what the auditor is saying. So this is filling in that Tesla crack, the perils of cash flow accounting, mea culpa. Having last week got rather excited by the minutiae of Tesla's accounting, it's time to roll back on that apparent $1.4 billion gap between capital investment and asset values. This is common. This mismatch happens with many financial situations. There's many reasons that can answer why this happened. So anyways, by the way, $1.4 billion, who cares?
Right.
It's like they're trying, like it's not going to impact the actual fundamentals of this company that's making $100 billion and all the billions that they're making. But the point is that anybody finds something, they're going to come out and guess what? Even though they came out with this, and even though they came out with this apology, what do you think the vast majority of consumers out there believe at this point? That this is real, that there was some shadiness that Tesla's doing. That's the message that these guys spread, and it's still out there.
It is still out there. The lie gets halfway around the world before the truth can even put its pants on. And that's what we're seeing here. Fortunately, to Financial Times' credit, there is no paywall on the retraction article when I looked this morning, while everything else remains paywalled for me. So I think that's a little feather in their cap, but still, be better if you just didn't screw up as bad the first time. The accountants the experts they spoke to in the original article did not share their conclusion. And even in the original article offered alternate theories as to why those numbers wouldn't match. And they chose to ignore that, to steamroll past it and get to their desired conclusion. And you had to know that if someone's going to be committing fraud, they're not going to leave it on the balance sheet where a grade schooler with a calculator would spot it. It's out in the public. It wouldn't make sense. It would be something much harder to find, like what BYD is doing, where they're hiding their losses upstream in the supply chain. And even that can be discovered. So it doesn't seem like the sort of thing Tesla would have the motivation to do in the first place. Tesla is the most audited company that I'm aware of. Everyone is looking for some fault, some flaw, something they can get in on to try and get an edge, to know when to short, if to short, when to sell, when to buy. It just, no part of the story made sense. And it highlights my frustration with the fact that so many of these legacy guys, and that includes the institutional analysts, choose to follow the wrong people. We know better. There's so many stories like this where if you'd have just asked any one of
Exactly.
us, we could have told you what was going on.
Just quickly here, Elon replied saying the Financial Times can't do finance math, and it's what a shame for Financial Times to be the one to, not able, like they had to be taught. Oh, it's just a normal accounting issue. This reminds me of another article that just came out last week where they came out and attacking how Tesla executives have been selling stock
Mm.
options left, right, and center. And it's true. There's nuance to that. It's true. But, you see the article, it says that Tesla executives dumping shares, right? And
Dumping
you,
adds
you,
a new aspect to the claim.
and there's words that they'll use. Like there was this one, the one went viral, and it said something like, as Elon says, begs shareholders to keep their shares. Anyways, while at the same time your executives are selling, think twice. So
The one I
the
saw was
article says,
insiders selling.
yeah, insider
It's like,
sell. So when they say that, but in the same article, they point out who sold and why, and each one of them they explained why.
I saw,
Like,
we must have read the same one.
yeah, like this person sold it. Oh, but that's because it was a normal stock, pre-scheduled Tesla stock option. This one sold it. Oh, but that was to pay the taxes that comes once your options come due.
Let's mention who they were. Kimball sells
Yeah.
on a regular schedule, like clockwork. That doesn't mean something bad suddenly happened, unless something bad is suddenly happening every 3 months for the last 5 years. James Murdoch sold because his option came up, and in order to pay the taxes on the option that was exercised and exercise the option, he had to sell a predetermined number of shares. And Robin Denholm always sells shares as they vest.
Immediately. Yeah.
That
she
has
does
not
that
changed.
Yeah. She does that because she believes that if she hold on to any amount of Tesla shares, then people can accuse her of being, like kind of like doing it for her own good and not for, doing the right thing. So
Mary Barra liquidates her shares as soon as they vest. No one criticizes her for that unless you count me.
okay. So it's just interesting. They have these articles, and then in the I had to explain it to friends and other people that, well, why don't you read the actual article and you'll see that they explain everything. There's nothing here that they're dumping because they're afraid of the future of Tesla or any hint of that. Just another example. Okay, so the big one, of course, we keep trying to figure out, is there brand damage? Should Tesla investors worry that buyers are being turned off Tesla's brand? You've done a lot of work. We've seen lots of data now coming from China, from Europe, even here in the US, that's showing that it's actually not happening. You got the plant manager at Germany for Tesla saying that they don't see any brand damage. But here's another signal here. Canaccord Genuity, George Genericus, they did a survey, more than 1,000 people. They asked them feelings toward the car maker. 2/3 of respondents were more likely to buy a Tesla than they were a year ago. That's interesting. That's an encouraging sign. Now here, this is the stat here. 21% were less likely to buy Tesla, with 80% of those swayed by recent politics. So yes, politics mattered, but the number of people turned off might be smaller than feared. So,
And I'd be curious to know if this study was conducted of their account holders, which would present a very different picture. There are people who are done with the brand. Will they show up in the numbers? You can make numbers do all kinds of magic tricks. My favorite is Tesla down 70% year over year in Germany when the plant was retooling. And then February comes and they're like, ooh, Tesla's down 35% year over year. Wait a minute. Why don't you just say that in February, Tesla tripled sales from January? because
Yeah.
that would also be true as they are ramping back up of the new Model Y. Well, it doesn't fit as well. Hey, if they were down 70% in January, but only down 35% in February, that's a trend that by June will mean they're using up most of the atoms in the universe to make cars because it
Mhm.
just keeps growing.
Yeah.
So you got to zoom out. Is there brand damage? Certainly. Is it will it be offset by new customers who now are coming to the brand for the first time? Maybe. We don't know yet. I've heard plenty of anecdotes of people who say, you know what, Tesla aligns with my politics so much that I'm now going to become a Tesla customer. Those
Yeah.
people are real. They exist. Do they exist in meaningful numbers? Too soon to say. The data is not yet available. But all of these proclamations that Tesla's done, it's over, were premature. And again, we tried to tell you guys, but
Yeah.
the
I
people
mean, at the
watching
end
this
of the
video
day,
already know.
it's true that there's brand damage. At the end of the day, it's true that you don't want to piss off 50% or whatever number it is. It's not 50%. That's the point. A certain number, small group of people. You don't want to do that if best you can. That's also true, though, that the demand for Tesla is so high and the market is so big that it's not necessarily going to show up. And what you've been saying is let's wait for the data. And you're turning out correct because it's looking like that as the data trickles in, it's looking like we're okay. We'll still see, but it's looking like really good news at this point.
Tesla was so far down in China in January. Right. That's because Chinese New Year was
Yeah.
in January this year instead of February. Well, February numbers were still down a little bit. Okay. How's March looking? Oh,
Yeah.
the factory is up
It's back
to
up
its
and
highest level
ahead.
year
Yeah.
over year. Come on. Again, we tried to tell you.
Okay. So the number one, thing, the other thing that we keep hearing from Tesla Q and others is that don't you know that the Chinese automakers are killing it? They're going to wipe out their Tesla killers, and we always say yes, right? We agree with what Elon's saying. Number one is going to be Tesla, then the next 9 are Chinese. But we've also been pointing out that these Chinese automakers, you have to look at their financials, and you have to understand that the government is heavily subsidizing them and that you don't necessarily know what you see there. Like we're pretty sure we've been suspecting that they were not able to get, and we don't know any car company other than Tesla, an EV company that is profitable in making electric vehicles yet, except for maybe BYD. But then we discovered that they have $44 billion of hidden debt through their supply chain. Well, now they had to disclose something else, and this is they disclosed that 26% of their total 2024 net income came from direct government subsidies. A big shout out to AJ at ALOJOH. If you're not following him, if you don't subscribe to him, this is a perfect thing to do. He pointed this out. In their disclosure, BYD's disclosure, $1.43 million in direct government that's $1.4 billion direct government subsidies related to daily activities. This implies a 125% year-over-year increase from what they received last year, the 2023, 636 million. Almost double, right? Over double what they got. Now $1.4 billion in government subsidies. And if their net income was only $5.5 billion, boy, that means that they got 26% of it was actually coming from the government. So
I'm confused. BYD for what time period? Because BYD is doing aren't they doing way more than 5.5 billion of business per year?
this is net income.
Oh, net income. Oh, 26% of their net income. 1.4 billion on $100 billion is not that much. My question would be, before I get too up in arms, is that 26 billion in contracts or direct subsidies? I know AJ said direct subsidies, but I've seen people conflate the two, especially when it comes to Tesla. People, oh, Elon got $38 billion in direct subsidies. And then you find out that the majority of it was launch contracts. That's not free money, my guys. That's deep discount goods and services.
Right, government subsidy related to daily activities. It doesn't sound like
I wonder
what
that means. Related to daily activities. Perhaps they mean yoga. I don't know.
Yeah. So there you go. This is coming directly from stock exchange filings published this week. So, okay. So just to keep that in mind, let's talk India. India is open to cutting tariffs on more than half of U.S. imports. So, in response to Trump's admin's upcoming reciprocal tariff policy, the Indian government they came out and said, "We're willing to reduce tariffs on 55% of U.S. imports worth $23 billion down to as little as zero from a current range of 5 to 30%. The risk reward is favorable for India, as it estimates as much as 66 billion of its exports to the US would be hit by tariffs." So they're replying. But at the same time, we know that Tesla has set up shop in India. They've got 2 showrooms. They're hiring people to sell Tesla cars in India. They're very likely going to be building a Giga India as well. And this is just rumors, but the rumors are Tesla is going to partner with Tata Group for the local supply chain. They're teaming up for local supply chain to build cars. India has already allegedly partnered with a few Tata Group companies, including Tata Autocomp, Tata Consultancy, Tata Technologies, and Electronics, are reportedly discussing the possibility of establishing facilities in India near Tata Group's manufacturing facilities. So, it's in a way readying the supplier base in India makes sense. Discussing the possibility of developing and producing components like castings, forgings, electronics, and fabrication items. That makes a ton of sense, obviously, because Tesla always does local, try to get as much of that 95%, 90% of the parts coming from the local region that they're in. Now, do you give a lot of credence to this rumor?
I hope so. It is a perfectly plausible rumor, and I'll tell you why. The Tata makes cars. They've been making cars for a long time. They know how to make cars. They know their supply chain. If you were to partner up with them, just in terms of logistics, just to say, hey, help us source parts, and we will give you nothing at all. But also, when it comes time to sell the cars, would you like to be our authorized service center? Because if you were to allow Tata to have, say, $1,000 on the sale of every car that they sell, that would be so much money compared to what they make on their own cars that they would be the most eager partner that there is. They would be delighted to be in that business. They would dismantle roadblocks ahead of you rather than being the one setting them up in the first place. Tata would be a very powerful ally to have and a very powerful enemy as well. I think it would take very little grease to keep those wheels in motion.
Yeah, it's happening. I agree. That makes sense. So in the past, the Tesla was supposedly set to invest 2 billion in a new plant, and they were going to buy $15 billion worth of auto parts in India if the new policy would reduce Tesla's import duty. But it didn't happen. But now it looks like it's happening. And so currently, India has very strict rules on importing vehicles to protect companies like Tata. They're homegrown automakers. 60% import duty on vehicles below $40,000 and 100% on vehicles above $40,000. So obviously, maybe not so obvious, but it seems obvious to me that they must have, given Tesla some sort of exemption, or they changed this for Tesla to say, yeah, I'm going to start sending my cars and selling it there. In exchange, India would want you to build a factory here. And so I think this signals that these rumors signals that they are going to be building a Giga India. That's what
I
this
believe they
says.
absolutely will. When you look at protecting your own market, I don't see Tesla as competing head to head with a lot of the domestic manufacturers. Even a domestically built Tesla would likely compete with imported cars, the higher end cars. When we were talking about the market in China a bit ago, we were talking about how, Tesla's going to be run out of business by these new Chinese competitors. Xiaomi makes one heck of a car. Li, Neo, BYD, these are all amazing cars. Those aren't Tesla killers. Those are BMW killers, Mercedes
Yeah.
killers, and BMW and Mercedes in China are effectively dead. Introducing Tesla into India wouldn't kill Tata Motors. It's a different car. It's a completely different car. Tata makes some high-end premium cars, but they're barely on par with a 3 or Y. And then they've got, of course, much nicer cars, which a 3 or Y can't even remotely compete with. They're not designed to. So then, of course, we'll have to look at the lower cost model that's coming later this year and see how that would fit with India. But I think that would be the real seller.
Yeah, I think it's the formula is Tesla comes in and they use the local suppliers. So they build millions of cars, like the volume automatically goes up incredibly high. They sell not only into India, but goes global. They start going into the region. That lowers the price for all the suppliers. That gives the Tata and other automakers strength in having lower price because everything becomes more volume based. That's how Chinese have done it. India needs to compete. That's what they need to do. They want to go global as well. So it's actually a win-win for everybody.
Tesla was introduced into China in hopes that it would kickstart their EV industry, and it did. And this is, I think, what Prime Minister Modi is seeing as well. We need a global leader here to move things. And why not invite a global leader who's going to domestically source everything?
You know, there's this incredible video that I watched that did the best deep dive I've ever seen on a potential Giga India.
Which one was that, Herbert?
Oh, there's a guy named Brian White on his channel, FutureAza. Did it a year ago. It is the deepest deep dive I've ever seen, the most best researched I've ever seen. So, folks, if you want to know more about a Giga Mumbai that he predicted, that he explained why and what would happen in that market, check out Brian. Check out this guy named Brian White on FutureAza.
It was more like 2 or 3 years ago now.
Oh, really? Yeah. Time's moving fast. Okay, another quick story here. Just Tesla's expanding, going global. They are selling now in Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which I thought was kind of interesting. Obviously, Saudi Arabia supporting Rivian. But it's also interesting that you see a photo of a Cybertruck. So come to our launch event. This is posted by Tesla Europe and Middle East. Tesla opening Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And there is a Cybertruck. And the guy says the Cybertruck is featured in the launch event. Does that mean Cybertruck will be sold in Saudi Arabia? Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. What are the regulations? What are the difficulties in importing it? Saudi Arabia wants whatever customers want, and customers want that. I know someone who was involved in the gray market export of Cybertrucks to a variety of Arab nations. There's a demand for it. It's a special car. And if there's one thing rich people like, it's special things.
It's coming. All this is good news. Thank you so much, Brian. Check him out at FutureAza. Appreciate you, Brian. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.